Here's the brief. News from the world over this week. The people of Charleston, South Carolina, and the nation are mourning after a horrific mass shooting there. On Wednesday, a young man joined a prayer group inside the Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church. Then he fatally shot 9 people, including the church pastor and state senator Clementa Pinckney. The suspect, 21-year-old Dylan Storm Roof, was captured 4 hours away in North Carolina without resistance on Thursday. The Charleston police chief wouldn't discuss motive, but past statements and an eyewitness account indicate that the killings could be racially motivated. At a press conference, President Barack Obama offered his condolences to the victims and called attention to gun violence, saying the country has to reckon with the fact that this type of mass violence does not happen in other advanced countries, end quote. And the most anticipated and controversial papal encyclical in decades was released on Thursday. Pope Francis's 184-page tome on the environment, Laudato Si, or Praise Be to You. In it, the Pope calls for an extensive and worldwide cultural change, not only environmentally, but economically and politically, in order to protect a planet that he describes as our common home. Part manifesto, part teaching document, Francis hitches the encyclical to the science of global warming. The Pope explains how the fossil fuel-based industrial model is not only harming the environment, but hurting the poor disproportionately. He quotes everyone from Pope Benedict to John Paul II to Orthodox Patriarch Bartholomew to the Bolivian Bishops' Conference to make his case. The encyclical is already receiving both praise and criticism. We'll dive into it with a full analysis in our next segment. And confidence in religion has hit an all-time low. This, according to the latest Gallup survey in the U.S., just 42% of respondents said they had a great deal or quite a lot of confidence in churches and organized religion. That number is down from nearly 70% in the 1970s and down 6% since 2013. The stats for Catholics and various denominations are almost identical. The Catholic Church appears, however, to have recovered from the historic lows that coincided with the height of the sex abuse crisis. And 2 big names were officially added to the growing field of presidential contenders this week. Starting in Miami, former Florida Governor Jeb Bush kicked off his campaign at a rally Monday. Bush drew on his successes as Florida governor in a speech that positioned him as a Washington outsider and a reformer who will challenge and disrupt the Beltway culture. Along the way, Bush took a few shots at President Obama and his insensitivity towards people of faith.
The most galling example is the shabby treatment of the Little Sisters of the Poor, a Christian charity that dared to voice objections of conscience to Obamacare. It comes down to a choice between the Little Sisters and Big Brother, and I'm going with the sisters. The president a few months ago thought it relevant at a prayer breakfast to bring up the Crusades. Americans don't need lectures on the Middle Ages when we're dealing abroad with modern horrors committed by fanatics.
And celebrity billionaire businessman Donald Trump launched his White House bid on Tuesday. With his usual bravado, Trump touted his success and business acumen as evidence of his ability to make America great again. His ambitious agenda includes building a Great Wall between the U.S. and Mexico and getting Mexico to pay for it, repealing and replacing Obamacare and defeating ISIS. Bush and Trump are the 11th and 12th high-profile Republicans to enter the 2016 race. And an historic Catholic church near the Sea of Galilee was heavily damaged in a suspected arson attack on Thursday. The fire broke out at the Church of the Multiplication in the middle of the night, causing extensive damage to the inside and exterior of the building. The church is frequented by pilgrims and marks the site where Christ is believed to have multiplied the loaves and fishes. Jewish extremists are suspected in the attack. Benedictine Priory Abbot Father Gregory Collin decried the incident.
It's an attack on Israeli democracy. We live freely and we live gladly in Israel. And for me, this is an attack not just on religion, though it is primarily that, but it's also an attack on freedom of speech, democracy, and the right to live here.
In recent years, mosques and churches have been targeted by vandals in similar attacks. And it looks like the upcoming Synod on the Family will have more lively debate. This week, the Holy Father named as a delegate Belgium Bishop Johan Boni. Bishop Boni has been an outspoken advocate for church acceptance of same-sex unions. He told a Belgian paper in December that the Catholic Church could consider a formal recognition of gay couples and that more space must be given to acknowledge the actual quality of gay and lesbian relationships. Meanwhile, the African Bishops' Conference announced that they will speak with one voice at the upcoming Synod and defend church teaching on marriage. That was the message delivered to the Vatican after the leaders of national and regional conferences gathered in Ghana last week. Among them, Cardinal Robert Sarah, the prefect of the Congregation for Divine Worship and the Discipline of the Sacraments. He encouraged his brother bishops to, quote, not be afraid to stress church teaching on marriage and to be conscious of the mission of the church to protect the sacredness of marriage, which is now being attacked by all forms of ideologies that intend to destroy the family in Africa, end quote. Back here in the U.S., the country's largest Protestant denomination is also affirming traditional marriage. The Southern Baptist Convention passed a resolution calling on the U.S. Supreme Court to uphold the right to define marriage as exclusively the union of one man and one woman. The High Court is due to rule on the constitutionality of gay marriage before the end of June. On Sunday, Pope Francis stressed the importance of children having heterosexual parents. Speaking to some 25,000 Roman faithful, the Pope said the differences between men and women are fundamental and an integral part of being human. Children, he said, form their identity based on the differences of their parents. Pope Francis further appealed to parents to safeguard their children from ideological attacks against the family and all that is sacred. And the Vatican has indicated that a former ambassador to the Dominican Republic will be tried on charges of sexual abuse of young boys and possession of child pornography. The Holy See announced Monday that Joseph Weslowski will have his first hearing in July. It is the first time such a high-ranking Vatican official will stand trial for sex abuse. The Holy See recalled Weslowski in 2013 after rumors surfaced in Santo Domingo of his alleged abuse. Weslowski has since been defrocked and placed under modified house arrest inside Vatican City, pending a decision by the Vatican Criminal Court. And Archbishop John Nienstedt resigned Monday as the leader of the Archdiocese of St. Paul, Minneapolis, in the wake of criminal sex abuse charges against the Archdiocese, not against him personally. Earlier this month, criminal and civil charges were filed against the Archdiocese, alleging that it failed to protect 3 boys who were sexually abused by the former priest. Curtis Waymeyer was convicted of the abuse and is serving a 5-year prison sentence. He was dismissed from the priesthood in March. In a written statement, Nienstedt said he is leaving with, quote, a clear conscience, knowing that my team and I have put in place solid protocols to ensure the protection of minors and vulnerable adults. The Archbishop claims his leadership was drawing attention away from the good works of the Church and thus his decision to resign. In 2012, after Archbishop Nienstedt himself had removed Waymeyer from ministry, the Ramsey County attorney commended him for doing the right thing. The offending former priest was involved in a series of inappropriate incidents before Nienstedt's tenure as bishop. The resignations come just a week after the Vatican announced the formation of a new tribunal to examine such cases.